Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to a special episode here. I haven't done a vinyl haul in quite some time. I keep telling myself I'm going to spend less money on vinyl, spend less money on physical media in general, but I always break my promises because I'm just such a big fan and I love to collect music. So it's one of my passion projects, and so I like to do these every so often to showcase what I've picked up, what's important to me that's come out in music. So I hope you guys appreciate this as a look into my taste, what albums that I viewed as worthy to add to my collection. I try to keep a fairly curated collection, not just buy everything. I try to just really hone in on the albums that are important to me. But I love a lot of music, so it ends up being a lot of music. So this is basically all the albums I've gotten from this year so far, all the way back from January. So you'll see a lot of albums that came out many, many months ago in this list, but I'm trying to be a completionist and showcase every album that I haven't yet in a vinyl haul. So let's jump into it. I'm going to try to rifle through these pretty quick so this video isn't forever long for those of you who are watching. I'm also going to add my CD collection, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Some recent CDs I've picked up as well, but we'll focus on the vinyl first. I think that's the main attraction, so let's get into all the vinyl that I've gotten this year so far. First on the list is Neil Morse's latest, The Restoration, Joseph Part 2, continuation of his saga of the Joseph story. Had to get it signed from Neil himself also. Of course, I'm a huge fanboy, as everyone knows, all the lyrics. It's a big story concept album, so there's a lot of lyrics to it. Brilliant release, one of my favorites of the year. Of course, Neil Morse never disappoints me. I was worried it'd be more in his musical theater direction, which you hear a little bit in this, but it also has a lot of his classic prog elements. So I really enjoyed that release. I think it's really excellent. Another great album from this year that's been behind me on the wall quite a bit this year is the new album from Kairos, Mannequin. I think this is brilliant as well. Showcases a modern 80s aesthetic. I think it's really cool how they blend this kind of Frost style neo-prog with some more poppier elements. I think it really works and is a band at their prime. I think they really knocked it out of the park with this release. And similarly, one of my favorite records of the year so far is Big Big Train, The Likes of Us. It's well documented on my channel how much of a fan I am of Big Big Train. I think they're one of the best modern prog bands. And this album came after a pretty devastating loss from the band of their frontman, David Lungden. And they were able to pick up the pieces and produce an album that I think is pretty stunning. Great package as well, great gatefold, beautiful artwork. I just really love this album dearly. Alberto Bravian, the new frontman, really brought a lot to the project, and I just love it. I think it's really brilliant. I picked up this one of my favorite records that I didn't have. I didn't even realize it was on vinyl. This is Echolin and their album I Heard You Listening, one of my favorite bands. Hopefully they'll come out with something new in the not too distant future. Seems like they've been working on a new project for quite some time. But this is a great band. I just love their sound and style. They gained some prominence back in the 90s with As the World, but some of their more recent releases are just really stellar and some of the greatest in modern prog. I really love this record. I picked up IQ, their album Dark Matter. This is a fantastic neo-prog album. I'm more a fan of the more recent IQ, which starts with this album. I'm not as much a fan of the 80s style IQ, but I love Dark Matter, Frequency, and Road of Bones. I think that's the prime period for me of IQ. And so this is definitely one that I have to have in the collection. It's one of my favorite records. Has the very Genesis style Harvest of Souls epic, which I think is kind of a modern version of Supper's Ready, and it's really remarkable. So really beautiful album. A newer album that I got is Plantoid and their album Terrapath. This is a fantastic newer release, like jazz rock fused with indie rock and psych elements. Just a really cool album that I just fell in love with. I think it's one of the best of the year and really unique if you're looking for something a little bit different, but has a bit of that prog influence, but bringing it into a modern kind of jazzy era. I think this is a great recommendation and a beautiful cover. One of the main reasons I picked up this in this format and this version is because I think this artwork is just fantastic. So an excellent record, well worth adding to the collection. This album was actually gifted to me by the band. This is Amscray and their new album Die Happy, which I reviewed on the channel and really loved. Has a bit more of a modern indie rock aesthetic. Think, bands like the Deer Hunter and bands of that ilk. Fantastic, little bit emo indie kind of style, but has a lot of cool musicianship, and the band really is on fire with this release. So this is a really cool release that deserves more attention out there. Really fun. A bit of an indie rock gem that I really loved this year. Then, of course, I've talked a lot about it. I love the Lemon Twigs' latest album. I haven't been a long-standing fan of theirs, really. I just haven't been that aware of their previous works, which I'm going to delve backwards. It's like a mix of early Beach Boys and the Beatles, and it's fantastic. It's beautiful. It has that kind of 60s sunny pop sort of feel to it, and I just think they really knocked it out of the park, and it's the type of album that I think works perfectly on vinyl since it has a bit of a vintage sound in it already, so I had to pick this one up in my collection. It's been one of the most played records for me over the summer, and so I definitely had to have it. Going back to some records I picked up at a record store before I moved. This is a fantastic record, Ways Blood. The record is called And in the Darkness Hearts Aglow. A fantastic kind of dream pop feel to it, but has this kind of classic 70s style singer-songwriter to me. I really love her work. I think this is just a fabulous album. Not prog per se, but just really great, well-crafted music that's worth anyone's ears. I think it's really well-crafted and beautiful. I also picked up in the same record haul, Moon Madness by Camel. This is just a used copy, but I thought it would be worth adding in because I like vintage Camel music. I think this is one of their best albums, and so I had to add it. A really cool collection of old symphonic prog that's just beautiful. Here's another modern album that I've loved this year. This is from Sleep Makes Waves. And I think it's supposed to go like this. It's hard to know which side is the front, right? But the album is called It's Here, But I Have No Names For It. It's Here, But I Have No Names For It. It's so hard with some of these longer album titles to try to keep track and remember all of them. But it's a fantastic post-rock release with a bit of a harder-hitting edge to it that I just fell in love with this sound. I think it's fantastic. Mostly instrumental stuff, but a beautiful album nonetheless. Full of just really intense, beautiful passages that showcase a lot of different sides of the post-rock movement and a bit of prog metal mixed into the mix. So, beautiful album, highly recommended. One of my favorites of the year so far. I also picked up a couple albums from the past here. Anathema, We're Here Because We're Here, I think is one of their best works, at least in their more modern era. Fantastic release, great gatefold here. I had to pick it up because it was basically on a sale on one of the record store sites that I frequent, and I thought, well, it's a brilliant record and it's at a decent price, so why not pick it up? And at the same token, I picked up Gazpacho and their album TikTok, which is kind of in the similar vein, very much that maybe neo-prog, but a bit more atmospheric. And I really love it. I think this is cool. I've been trying to get more into Gazpacho because I know they're going to be on Cruise to the Edge next year, and I want to get familiarized with the band. I was familiar with Night. I know that album pretty well, but I didn't know this one quite as well, so I had to get it and experience it, and it's brilliant as well. So beautiful, kind of atmospheric, slow burn prog, but I think it's really beautiful what they craft and some of the cool instrumental passages that they wade through. Really cool album. Really pleased that Beardfish is releasing some of their albums on vinyl. This is Destined Solitaire, maybe my favorite of Beardfish's catalog. And they're having a bit of a resurgence, I think partly because the band seems to be reunited and working on a new album. They had disbanded for a little bit, but really excited for what they come up with next. Just a fantastic release, a fantastic album coming out on Inside Out Records, a great reissue. Can't wait to dive into this deeper because it's a really remarkable album, right in line with just that classic prog sound that I just totally adore. I think they nail it with a bit of a whimsical, playful side to their nature as well. Wonderful record. This was quite exciting to finally see this come out on vinyl. Neil Morse's One, one of my favorite albums of all time. It hasn't been on vinyl till Neil Morse just barely reissued it. Just fantastic in all senses of the word. This is a brilliant album that showcases kind of the story of man from the creation all the way to like the resurrection, I suppose, if you're into like more spiritual subjects. But regardless of your thoughts on religion and spirituality and stuff, I think it's just a really fun, good concept album that showcases this interesting story of a man separating from God and then coming and returning home, and beautifully done with full-on prog instrumentation and just really great in every sense of the word. This is a modern progressive rock masterpiece, in my opinion, and was some of Neil Morse's best material. So definitely had to have this, one of my favorite albums of all time. And then it was cool to see this come out, The Flower King, Roine Stolt, kind of his first foray, his solo record before the Flower Kings officially started. But in all but name, this is pretty much a Flower Kings record and feels like pretty much the debut record for the Flower Kings, and it's a brilliant one at that. It just has all the hallmarks of the Flower Kings classic material. It has epics, it has, great guitar passages, brilliant positive symphonic prog. I just absolutely adore this record. I think it's brilliant, and glad to have it in the collection along with all the other Flower Kings albums that were reissued and put on vinyl that I picked up as well. So I feel like I have a pretty complete Flower Kings discography at this point on vinyl, so that's exciting. Also had to pick up Pure Reason Revolution and The Dark Third. I've been getting into their music because they have a new album coming out later this year. In fact, in only a couple weeks, really. But I just love their sound, kind of this darker, heavier kind of aesthetic, but a bit of like a Pink Floyd psychedelic side with these beautiful male-female harmonies. This is their first work, and many people consider it their best. They just came out of the scene brilliant and had this really epic piece of music that they showcased to the world, and I just think it's a seminal release. It's one of the important records for my evolution as a prog fan, so I wanted to add it to the collection, obviously. Now we're getting into kind of my birthday stash a little bit here. I recently had a birthday, and my dad, of course, had to pick me up a record, and that's the Beatles' Rubber Soul. He's a big Beatles fanatic, and I am as well. So I'm glad to add this to the collection. I have a lot of the albums post Rubber Soul in my collection, but hadn't quite picked this one up yet. So, of course, a classic that every record collection should have, I think. And as part of the gift, my dad's taking me to a concert to see the Fab Four, which is a Beatles tribute act. So that'll be a fun experience to go to with my dad to celebrate the Beatles and their fantastic catalog. I picked up this this is a used record, but I thought it was cool to see this. UK's Danger Money, fantastic supergroup of sorts of the later era of progressive rock. This is their second album. Of course, their first one is a classic of the genre, but this one's not too far behind it. A really great album and definitely worthy of a prog person's collection. So glad to add this into the mix as well. I saw this on a deal, so I decided I had to pick it up. It was super cheap for a brand new record from the Pineapple Thief, tightly unwound, new as in it hadn't been opened yet. Of course, this album's one of their older records, but I really like Pineapple Thief and what they bring to the table. They bring kind of a modern tinged prog to the table, and I think they really do a good job with it. Just really pleasant sounding music with great vocals, great production, and this is another solid record from them, so I'm glad to add it in. And I also added at the same trip Porcupine Tree's The Incident, the last remaining Porcupine Tree album that I didn't have yet on vinyl. To me, it's right in line with their classic era. I know a lot of people didn't prefer this one compared to Dead Wing and In Absentia and those albums, Fear of a Blank Planet, but I think it's just as good as those records. I think it has a lot to love about it. It has this big kind of song cycle suite and then a couple of shorter tracks as well, and I think they're all really well done and right in line with Porcupine Tree's signature sound from that period of the group. So really wonderful record. Certainly happy to have it in the collection. And then I had to pick up a missing album from my collection, one of my favorite classic records that I just, for some reason, didn't have yet. And so I picked up Rush's Hemispheres. Gotta have this one in the collection. It's a prog rock staple. One of their best albums, if not their best album. This and A Farewell to Kings are their two like premier progressive rock albums from Rush, so definitely a must-have in the collection. Glad to bring this in. I bought this with some of my birthday money, and glad to bring it into the forefront here. Really cool record. And then my wife knocked it out of the park and found me a record that I have always struggled to find. It's always super expensive online. It's hard to find a copy of anymore. This is Big Big Train's Folklore, one of my favorite albums from Big Big Train that's been a big missing hole in my collection. I have all the other David Lungden era Big Big Train albums on vinyl, but have never been able to find this one. And my wife is just incredible for seeking this one out and giving me a copy of it. I just love this record. Of course, love my wife and what she does for me and how she loves and supports my record collecting habit and finds these really excellent records that I just have a lot of joy for. This is a fabulous record, and I'm just pleased as punch to have it in the collection. It's brilliant. Please check this out if you haven't heard this before. It's just some of the most premier, brilliant modern progressive rock you'll hear. Big Big Train's Folklore. And then the last couple here, I picked up Beardfish's Mammoth, which is also being released for the first time, I believe, on vinyl. Excellent album. I love all the Beardfish records, so anytime one of them is going to come out on vinyl, it'll be an immediate purchase for me. I think this is really fun, and I'm excited to spin this one. I just got it like a week or so ago, so I haven't quite spun this one yet, but I'm excited to put on the turntable and listen. Really fantastic release. And then finally, I just received the new album from Ritual, The Story of Mr. Bugged. Fantastic album, one of the best of the year. Scott Lade from Prog Corner talks about this as a masterpiece and probably his favorite album of the year. So definitely check it out. It's classic prog at its best, a concept record. Can't wait for part 2. I'm also anticipating the new Mir album. I should be receiving that actually today in the mail on vinyl, so that one will be part of the collection as well. And that's pretty much up to date with the vinyl I've gotten, so not too bad. A pretty substantial vinyl collection there. And now I'm going to go through CDs because one of the things that I've been transitioning into lately, vinyl has gotten more expensive, in case you didn't know, and I've started to feel like I can't just get every single thing I'd want on vinyl just because of the cost, and certain albums I don't think lend themselves as well to the format. And I used to love collecting CDs. It was a big passion of mine, and I sort of got away from it as I went into the vinyl habit. So I'm trying to incorporate back CDs and have a little bit of a combination of both. Like certain albums I think work better on CD, and I could get it for a lot better price point, and it's easier to load into my computer and have a digital file available for on-the-go listening as well. So these are some of the CDs that I've gotten from albums that I've really liked over the course of the year that I wanted to share. And I'll go through these super fast because I know we're already like almost at the 20-minute mark here. So, but I wanted to showcase a pretty hefty pile of CDs here. I have the new Caligula's Horse record, Charcoal Grace, on CD. A really excellent progressive metal album from the year. Wheels, Charismatic Leaders, ditto, a really great progressive metal in the style of Tool, and I think this was a super solid release. I got Turbulence, another progressive metal album, Binary Dream. I think this is a fantastic modern progressive metal, similar, maybe think on the lines of Haken, really beautiful. The Pineapple Thief, I mentioned one of their older albums on vinyl, but this is their latest release that leads to this, which I think is a really cool release. I know not everyone was super impressed with this one, but I just think it's super solid. Sounds pristine, great production value, and just really good, well-crafted songs. The Tangent, of course, To Follow Polaris. I really love their new record. It's kind of Andy Tillison doing everything himself, but it's a fantastic album that I think should be heard from all fans of The Tangent. Just a really cool release from them. I got this gifted to me by the artist Almo. Reconciliation of great progressive metal, some of the best progressive metal this year. A little bit veering into the harsh territory, like Between the Buried and Me, but has a Haken sensibility as well. A debut record that just really stunned me and a lot of my contemporaries as well. So, really great record. Eric Gillette has his record Sensory Overload, which is an instrumental work from the guitarist from Neil Morse Band. Just a fantastic instrumental progressive metal album that I've really been enjoying. The artist sent me this, Benjamin and Croft. This is a fantastic like jazz fusion type prog record. We Are Here to Help. I did a review of this as well on the channel. I just think it's really cool. Instrumental work with some really cool guests on it. Really fun record. I got the Flower Kings, their live record, live in Europe 2023. Really cool. Some cool epic prog, just showcasing them at their live shows. I really like this record. HFMSC, or Hasse Froberg Musical Companion, Eternal Snapshots, a really beautiful record. Hasse Froberg is just a brilliant musician. Of course, he comes from Flower Kings, but has done this project for quite some time, and it's brilliant in its own right, separate from the Flower Kings. Great classic rock and prog inspiration on this record. Iz's Collapse the Wave, I really love this release as well. I think it's just perfect modern symphonic prog, and I've just been enjoying the heck out of this record. I think it's one of the strongest of the year. A band that I wish was more well known in the prog scene, but they definitely deserve all the praise. Iz is a fantastic band based out of New York area. Azure and their album Femme. A lot of these records aren't on vinyl. That's part of the reason why I don't have them on vinyl. Some of them are on vinyl, but I just chose to go with the CD instead for cost reasons, or just because I thought it was a preferable format for whatever reason. But this is only available on CD, and I think it's a fantastic modern prog record, concept album, a double discer, in fact. Really cool release and really cool packaging, and a great group of modern progressive metal, progressive rock album with a great concept, kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign brought to life. I got the Decemberist latest album on CD. I think this is really solid release from them, a pretty expansive list of tracks here, as it ever was. So It Will Be Again, once again, another long album title that's hard to remember sometimes. But I thought the album cover is really great, and it's just a really cool little album. So I thought it was nice to have on a CD. And then I have this one from a band called Maya, Fading Tomorrow. I did a review of this one, very Yes style. I believe they're a band from Hungary, a really great progressive rock band, and I like this cover. I like this band, so I thought it was worth picking up their album on CD. It's a fantastic one. The new reissue of Yes and their album Talk, I thought I'd pick up on CD just to complete my Yes CD collection. A fantastic record from their 90s period. One of the last, I think, with Trevor Rabin as well. So a really fantastic release. I think this is an underrated classic from Yes. I got the new Baroque project. This is called Time Voyager. Another fantastic release. I don't believe this is on vinyl either, but just classic modern prog. I think you'll like this if you like, most of the modern symphonic prog bands. They have like a classical bent to their sound. That's why they have the Baroque. It's like a take on Baroque, but a rock style. I think it's really cool. Band from Italy. I really like them. I have Return to the Earth, Stalagmite Steeple on CD, a really cool atmospheric prog album that I thought was really beautiful. Some great lyrics talking about like post-pandemic situations and things like that. So a really great record there. I have the new Kuiper record. I won't butcher the title here, but it's their latest record. Fantastic release. I think it's one of their best, and I'm happy to have it on CD here as well. I also have the latest from IQ, the IQ Weekender 2024 live album with some of their best material performed live from some of their recent albums. It's a really cool set that I'm really excited to dive into. I've also been trying to pick up some Opeth because I know they have a new album coming out soon. So I've been trying to plug the holes in my Opeth discography. I know it's not for everyone because they have like the harsher vocals, but I've been really diving deep into them in preparation for the new one. So picking up several of their CDs, of course, Heritage. You've got Ghost Reveries. You've got Blackwater Park and Still Life, some of their most classic records in here, and Heritage as well. So a really cool smattering of Opeth records there. The latest from Neil Morse, Late Bloomer. It was only available on his streaming service for quite some time, but he's released physical versions. I decided to opt for the CD for this one, but there is also a vinyl release if you're interested, available on his site, more of his folky singer-songwriter side. But of course it's Neil Morse, so I've got to have it. And then a couple used CDs that I got recently, just trying to plug some holes in the collection. This is Pink Floyd's Metal that I picked up. Frank Zappa, Mothers of Invention, One Size Fits All as well. And then one of the big ones that I wanted to make sure to have, Reign of Kendo, This Is What Happens. I didn't have this on CD quite yet, and it's one of my favorite all-time records, so got to pick that one up. And then a couple of other cool things, music-related, the new Arion package, 01, Live Beneath the Waves, just a great extravaganza of live music from the Arion family, bringing all these guest musicians in play. And I've also been picking up these big Jethro Tull sets. They've become available, and I kind of feel bad that I missed my chance back when they were originally out, so I've been picking them up. Aqualung here, Minstrel in the Gallery as well. I have Songs from the Wood, the Country set, and then lately the recent release of the live record, Bursting Out, the inflated edition. So thought those were cool, and I hopefully will collect some of the other box sets for Jethro Tull as well to expand out that collection. But it's all part of my process of getting back into CDs and enjoying physical media in a new format. So it's been a lot of fun to supplement my vinyl habit, try to pare down a little bit on my vinyl buying and incorporate some CDs back into the mix. So incredible stuff. Hopefully you guys liked some of that material, and I guess I'll end the video there. Those are my records that I've picked up. Let me know any that stood out to you in the comments. Let me know what records you've picked up recently as well, and maybe in a few months time I'll come back with an update. So thank you guys so much, and keep enjoying the music, everybody. I'll hopefully see you in a future episode. Bye.